restaurant. I'm only here to buy food.
All right, turn around. You're under arrest.
What? Let go of me.
The narrator sets the stage by introducing Ember Red Cassidy, not just as a troubled teen, but as a case study in liquid courage. The intro establishes the stakes. Ember is about to scream herself out of a warning and into a pair of handcuffs in front of an entire restaurant full of witnesses. It defines the core conflict, teenage bravado versus the immovable force of legal authority, and exposes the dangerous myth that acting aggressive makes you powerful. This is the story of a girl who mistakes an officer's patience for weakness, who believes that if she just yells loud enough, points hard enough, and refuses to back down, she'll somehow win a fight against the law itself. But here's what Ember doesn't understand yet. The officer standing calmly in front of her, unflinching, unbothered, and utterly professional, has already decided how this ends. The only question is whether Ember walks away with a warning or rides away in handcuffs. Spoiler alert, her ego picks handcuffs. This is a 90-second masterclass in how alcohol, pride, and a crowd of onlookers can turn a simple trespass warning into a criminal record. This is what happens when you confuse volume with power. This is instant regret, captured frame by frame. When the call comes in at 12:47 p.m., dispatch describes it as a welfare check. A young woman locked in the bathroom at the Golden Skillet for over an hour. Won't respond to knocking. Manager is concerned she might be overdosing or having a medical emergency. Families are waiting. Business is being disrupted. Can an officer please respond? This is the kind of call that gets prioritized. Someone potentially dying in a locked bathroom trumps almost everything else on the board. The responding officer arrives within minutes, walking through the front door of the busy diner with purpose. She's expecting to find a door that needs to be forced open, possibly a person unconscious on the tile floor, maybe a needle, maybe worse. What she finds instead is a crowd of frustrated customers, a stressed manager wringing his hands, and a bathroom door that's been occupied for 97 minutes by someone who is very much conscious and very much talking. The manager approaches quickly, keeping his voice low but urgent. She finally answered about 10 minutes ago. She's awake in there, but she won't come out. She sounds off. We don't know if she's sick or what's going on, but we need that bathroom, and honestly, we need her out of here. The officer nods and approaches the door. She knocks firmly. Police department, we got a call for a welfare check. Can you hear me in there? There's a long pause, then a muffled, slurred voice. I'm fine, go away. The officer exchanges a glance with the manager. Not a medical emergency, not unconscious, not overdosing, just someone who doesn't want to leave. The tone of the call has already shifted in her mind from welfare check to potential trespass situation. Ma'am, I need you to open the door so I can see that you're okay. People are concerned about you. I said I'm fine. The voice is louder now, aggressive, definitely slurred. You can't make me come out. The officer's jaw tightens slightly. She's been doing this job long enough to recognize the signs, the slurred speech, the misplaced confidence, the irrational defiance. This isn't someone in medical distress. This is someone who's drunk and has decided that a public bathroom is now her personal fortress. Ma'am, you've been in there for over an hour and a half. This is a business. Other people need to use the facilities. I need you to come out now. There's movement behind the door, shuffling, something being knocked over. Then the lock clicks. The door swings open and Ember, Red Cassidy, stumbles out, copper hair messy and falling out of her ponytail, eyes glassy and unfocused, reeking of alcohol. She's pale, swaying slightly, and the moment she sees the officer in uniform, her entire demeanor shifts from disoriented to defensive. I didn't do anything wrong, she announces loudly, her words running together. You can't arrest me for using the bathroom. The officer takes one look at her. The dilated pupils, the unsteady stance, the smell of cheap vodka rolling off her in waves, and knows exactly how this is going to go. This isn't a welfare check anymore. This is a drunk minor on private property who's about to be given a choice: leave voluntarily or leave in handcuffs. But first, she needs to give Ember the chance to make the smart decision. That's the part of the job that requires the most patience. Watching someone stand at the edge of consequences and waiting to see if they'll step back or jump. Ember is already leaning forward. The moment Ember exits the bathroom, the path forward is crystal clear. The officer doesn't need to arrest her. She doesn't need to escalate this. All Ember has to do is leave. Walk out the front door, go home, sober up, and forget this ever happened. That's it. That's the entire exit strategy being handed to her on a silver platter. But Ember doesn't see it that way. Instead of relief or embarrassment, her face shows pure defiance. She crosses her arms over her black graphic t-shirt and plants her feet like she's preparing for battle. The families eating lunch are staring now. Kids are watching. The manager is hovering nearby, clearly hoping this ends quickly and quietly. "Ma'am," the officer says calmly, her voice even and professional. "You've been in the bathroom for a long time. The manager would like you to leave the property now." "I'm a customer," Ember fires back, her voice too loud for the space. "I can be here if I want." The officer doesn't take the bait. She's heard this argument 1,000 times in 1,000 different situations. You can be a customer as long as the business allows it. Right now they're asking you to leave, so you need to go. This is a public place. Ember's voice is rising, her pale face flushing red with anger and alcohol. "You can't just kick me out for no reason." Here's where the education begins. The officer keeps her tone steady, like she's explaining basic math to someone who keeps insisting 2 + 2 = 5. This is a private business. The owner has the right to refuse service and ask anyone to leave for any reason. You've been asked to leave, so let's go. Ember doesn't move. Instead, she looks around at the watching crowd like she's searching for allies, for someone to back her up and confirm that she's being treated unfairly. No one does. They just stare, forks halfway to mouths, waiting to see what happens next. "I didn't even do anything," Ember protests, swaying slightly as she gestures wildly with one hand. "I was just in the bathroom." "That's not illegal." "You're right," the officer agrees. "Using the bathroom isn't illegal. But when a business asks you to leave and you refuse, that becomes trespassing. So right now, you have a choice. You can walk out that door on your own, or I can arrest you for trespassing. Which one do you want?" This is the moment. This is the fork in the road. This is where Ember gets to decide if she wants to walk away with nothing more than a bruised ego, or if she wants to turn this into something that follows her for years. The smart move is obvious to everyone in the room except Ember. She squares her shoulders, leans forward slightly, and sneers. "You're not going to arrest me for using a bathroom. That's ridiculous." The officer's expression doesn't change. She's not angry. She's not frustrated. She's just waiting. Waiting for Ember to realize that this isn't a negotiation. Waiting for reality to break through the fog of alcohol and teenage pride. But Ember isn't there yet. Instead of walking toward the exit, she takes a step sideways, moving deeper into the restaurant, like she's proving a point. "Ma'am, you need to leave now," the officer repeats, her voice still calm, but with a harder edge. "This is your last warning." Ember laughs. Actually laughs. Like this is all some kind of joke that only she understands. The exit door is 10 feet away. Freedom is 10 feet away. All she has to do is walk. She doesn't. The manager steps forward, and his presence changes the entire dynamic. He's a middle-aged man in a golden skillet polo shirt, and he looks exhausted. This is supposed to be the lunch rush, his busiest time, and instead he's dealing with a drunk teenager who's turned his restaurant into a circus. "Miss," he says, his voice tired but firm, "I'm the manager here. I'm officially asking you to leave the property. You're no longer welcome here today." Ember turns to him, her glassy eyes narrowing. "You can't do that." "Yes, I can," he replies simply. "This is private property. I'm the manager. I'm telling you that you need to leave right now." The officer steps in before Ember can respond. "Okay, so now you've been officially trespassed by the manager. That means if you don't leave immediately, you're breaking the law. Do you understand?" Ember's mouth opens and closes. For a second, it seems like maybe the words are getting through. Maybe the reality of the situation is starting to sink in. Maybe she's finally going to make the smart choice. Then she speaks. "This is bullshit," she shouts, loud enough that a toddler at a nearby table starts crying. "I didn't do anything wrong. You're just harassing me because I'm young." The officer's patience is impressive. She doesn't raise her voice, she doesn't move closer. She just stands there, a wall of calm authority, and repeats the facts one more time. "Here's what's gonna happen. You have two options. Option 1. You leave right now, you walk out that door, and this is over. You go home. No arrest, no charges, nothing. Option 2. You refuse to leave, I arrest you for trespassing, and you go to jail. Those are your only two choices. Which one do you want? It's the clearest possible explanation. A child could understand it. But Ember is beyond logic right now. The alcohol has convinced her that she's in the right, that she's being victimized, that if she just stands her ground and refuses to be pushed around, somehow she'll win. I want to talk to your supervisor, Ember demands, pointing a shaky finger at the officer. You can't treat people like this. You can file a complaint later, the officer responds, unmoved. Right now, you need to make a choice. Leave or get arrested. You have 10 seconds. The counting begins in everyone's head. The restaurant has gone completely silent, except for the soft crying of that toddler and the hum of the kitchen. Every eye is on Ember. Every person in that room knows what the right answer is. Ember knows it too. Somewhere under the vodka and the pride and the desperate need to not look weak in front of strangers, she knows. But knowing and doing are two different things. Fine, she finally spits out. Fine, I'll leave. But this is wrong, and you know it. She turns toward the door, stumbling slightly, and for a brief moment it looks like this might actually end without handcuffs. The officer follows at a distance, giving Ember space to comply, to walk out the door and into the parking lot, and away from consequences. Ember pushes through the front door into the afternoon sunlight. The officer follows, and that's when Ember makes her second critical mistake. Instead of walking to the sidewalk, instead of leaving the property entirely, she stops. Right there in the parking lot, still on Golden Skillet property. And she turns around. The parking lot is where good decisions go to die. Ember is standing 20 feet from the restaurant entrance, technically off the building, but still very much on private property. And she's made the choice that her ego matters more than her freedom. She could keep walking. She could go to the sidewalk, which is public property, and stand there and yell all she wants. She could call a friend, call her parents, call a lawyer, post about it on social media, whatever. But she'd be free. Instead, she plants her feet on the asphalt and turns to face the officer who's followed her outside. You happy now? Ember yells, her voice cracking with anger and something that might be tears. Is this what you wanted? To humiliate me in front of everyone? The officer stops a safe distance away. Her body language is relaxed but ready. Her hands are free. She's not touching her weapon, not touching her cuffs, not doing anything aggressive. She's just standing there, waiting to see if Ember will finish the job and actually leave. Ma'am, you need to leave the property completely. That means off the parking lot and onto the sidewalk. Keep walking. I'm going. Ember shouts, but she doesn't move. She's frozen in place, caught between the part of her brain that knows she should run and the part that can't stand the idea of letting the officer have the last word. This is the trap that catches so many people. They've been given the golden ticket, the free pass, the chance to walk away clean. But they can't do it. They have to get one more word in. They have to prove they're not scared. They have to show everyone watching that they didn't really lose because they're choosing to leave, not being forced. Except they are being forced. And everyone knows it. Ma'am, I'm giving you one more chance, the officer says, and there's a slight shift in her tone now. The patience is still there, but it's wearing thin. Leave the property now or you're going to jail. Ember's hands ball into fists at her sides. Her pale face is blotchy and red. Her breathing is quick and shallow. She looks like someone who's about to cry or scream or both. You don't scare me, she says, and it's such an obvious lie that it almost sounds sad. The officer doesn't respond to that. She just waits. Seconds tick by. Cars drive past on the street. Somewhere inside the restaurant, life is going back to normal. The toddler has stopped crying. Orders are being taken. But out here in the parking lot, time has slowed down to a crawl. Ember takes a step, not toward the sidewalk, toward the officer. You think you're so tough with that badge, she continues, her words slurring together as the alcohol keeps talking for her. But you're just a bully. That's all you are. The officer's expression doesn't change. She's heard it all before. The insults, the accusations, the desperate attempts to turn this into something it's not. She's not taking it personally because this isn't personal. This is just a drunk teenager making a series of catastrophically bad choices in real time. Last chance, the officer says quietly. Walk away now. But Ember has already decided. Somewhere in her alcohol-soaked brain, she's convinced herself that she can win this. That if she just refuses to back down, refuses to show weakness, refuses to let this cop think she's afraid, then somehow she'll come out on top. It's the same logic that's destroyed 1,000 people before. She takes another step forward. This is where the liquid courage reaches its peak. Ember is standing in a parking lot, drunk and furious, facing down a trained police officer, and she genuinely believes she has the upper hand. The alcohol has stripped away every reasonable thought, every survival instinct, every bit of common sense that would normally tell a person to stop, turn around, and run. Instead, Ember decides to escalate. You know what? She says, her voice getting louder with each word. You can't tell me what to do. I know my rights. The officer remains perfectly still. She's not backing up. She's not moving forward. She's just watching, her dark eyes calm and focused, like a scientist observing an experiment that's about to explode. I have the right to be here. Ember continues, gesturing wildly around the parking lot. This is America. I can stand wherever I want. Not on private property after you've been trespassed, the officer corrects, her voice still maddeningly calm. You need to leave, now. But Ember is beyond reason. The combination of vodka and teenage pride has created a perfect storm of bad decisions. She takes another step closer to the officer, closing the distance to just a few feet. Her shoulders are hunched forward, her neck extended, her whole posture screaming aggression. What are you gonna do? She challenges, her pale face twisted with misplaced confidence. You gonna arrest me for standing here? That's abuse of power. The officer's hand moves slightly closer to her belt. Not threatening, just ready. Ma'am, step back and leave the property. This is your final warning. Or what? Ember practically screams it. There are people in the restaurant watching through the windows now. Cars slowing down as they pass, witnesses everywhere. And Ember doesn't care. She's too far gone to care. She raises her right hand, index finger extended, and jabs it toward the officer's face. Not quite touching, but close. Way too close. You don't scare me. You think because you have a badge you can push people around? I'm not afraid of you. The officer's expression shifts. It's subtle, but it's there. The patience has run out, the warnings have been given, the line has been crossed. Put your hand down and step back, the officer says, and her voice has changed. It's harder now. Commanding. This is no longer a request. Ember doesn't put her hand down. Instead, she leans in further, that finger still jabbing the air inches from the officer's face, her mouth open in a scream that echoes across the parking lot. I didn't do anything wrong. You're the one. The officer moves. The finger is still there, jabbing the air like a weapon, and Ember's face is twisted into something ugly and desperate. Her mouth is wide open, screaming words that don't even make sense anymore, just noise and rage pouring out in a vodka-fueled flood. You can't do this to me. I know people. My dad's gonna sue you. You're gonna lose your job. The officer stands perfectly still, watching that finger hover inches from her face. She doesn't flinch, doesn't blink, doesn't step back. She's a wall of absolute calm in the middle of Ember's hurricane, and that calm is somehow more terrifying than any show of force could be. Ma'am, put your hand down right now, the officer says, and her voice has dropped to something flat and final. This is the last warning, the very last one. But Ember is too far gone to hear it. The alcohol has convinced her that she's winning this fight, that her volume equals power, that her refusal to back down means she's brave instead of stupid. She thinks the crowd of witnesses will protect her. She thinks her age will protect her. She thinks that somehow, some way, if she just keeps pushing, the officer will give up and leave her alone. She's wrong on every single count. You don't scare me, Ember screams again, and this time the finger actually makes contact. Just a poke. Just a quick jab against the officer's shoulder. Barely anything. But it's everything. The moment Ember's finger touches the uniform, the entire situation transforms. This is no longer a verbal confrontation. This is no longer a teenager refusing to leave. This is now physical contact with a police officer. This is assault. This is the line that you never ever cross. And Ember just crossed it. The officer's eyes narrow slightly, her jaw tightens, and when she speaks, her voice is ice. You just made physical contact with me. Turn around, you're under arrest. For one frozen second, Ember doesn't understand. She blinks, her alcohol-soaked brain trying to process what she just heard. Then it hits her. What? No, I didn't. I barely. That's not. Turn around, hands behind your back, now. The tough girl act shatters like glass. Ember's eyes go wide, the color draining from her already pale face. Her hands drop to her sides and she takes a stumbling step backward, suddenly realizing that this is real. This is actually happening. Wait, she stammers, and all the aggression is gone from her voice now, replaced by panic. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry, I'll leave right now. Too late. The officer has already closed the distance, her hands reaching for Ember's arm. No. Ember jerks away, spinning to the side. Get off me! Don't touch me. The officer's voice cuts through the air like a blade. Stop resisting. You are under arrest for trespassing and assault on a police officer. Put your hands behind your back, or this gets worse. But Ember isn't listening anymore. The fear has taken over completely, mixing with the alcohol and the pride and the desperate need to not be handcuffed in front of all these people. She twists away again, her movements clumsy and wild, and that's when everything goes from bad to catastrophic. I said, don't touch me, she shrieks, and she raises her hands, not in surrender, but in a pushing motion, trying to shove the officer away. The officer doesn't get shoved. Instead, she catches Ember's wrists in a grip that's firm and professional and completely unbreakable. And just like that, the fight is on. The moment the officer's hands lock around Ember's wrists, reality comes crashing down like a freight train. All the bravado, all the tough talk, all the finger-pointing and screaming, it all meant nothing. Because now there are actual consequences standing right in front of her, and consequences don't care how loud you yell. Ember tries to pull away, yanking her arms back with all her strength. But the officer doesn't let go. Her grip is professional, controlled, and absolutely unshakable. She's done this 1,000 times before with people bigger, stronger, and more sober than Ember. Let go of me, Ember screams, her voice cracking with panic. She twists her body trying to break free, but it's like fighting against steel. You're hurting me. Stop resisting, the officer says calmly, already moving to turn Ember around. Put your hands behind your back. But Ember has completely lost it now. The tough girl persona has collapsed, replaced by pure animal panic. She digs her feet into the pavement, trying to anchor herself in place, pulling backward with everything she's got. No, I don't want to go to jail. Please, I'm sorry. The apologies are too late. The officer is already in motion, using Ember's own resistance against her, guiding her off balance and turning her body in one smooth, practiced movement. In less than 3 seconds, Ember is facing away from the officer, her arms being pulled behind her back. Stop fighting or you're going to hurt yourself, the officer warns, her voice still eerily calm despite the struggle. You're making this worse. Ember doesn't stop. She can't stop. The alcohol and the fear have taken over her brain completely. She jerks her shoulders, trying to wrench her arms free, and when that doesn't work, she starts kicking backward blindly, her feet searching for any target. Someone, help me! She screams toward the restaurant, toward the cars passing by, toward anyone who might intervene. She's attacking me. This is police brutality. Nobody helps. Because everyone can see exactly what's happening. They saw Ember refuse to leave. They saw her get aggressive. They saw her poke the officer. They saw her start this fight, and now they're watching her lose it. The officer has had enough of the kicking. She adjusts her grip, controlling Ember's arms while simultaneously moving her toward the patrol car parked nearby. It's not violent. It's not angry. It's just efficient, professional. The kind of movement that comes from years of training and experience. You are under arrest, the officer repeats, her voice steady. You have the right to remain silent. I don't care about my rights. Ember shrieks, interrupting the Miranda warning. Let me go. She tries to drop her weight, going limp in the classic dead weight move that drunk people think will somehow stop an arrest. All it does is make the officer adjust her technique. Within seconds, Ember is being guided firmly toward the patrol car, her feet dragging uselessly across the pavement. Stop resisting, the officer says again, and there's still no anger in her voice. just a statement of fact. Every time you fight, you're adding charges. But Ember is beyond caring about charges. She's beyond logic. She's thrashing like a fish on a hook, her copper hair falling completely out of its ponytail, her face red and streaked with tears. She doesn't remember starting to cry. "This isn't fair," she sobs. "I didn't do anything wrong." The officer reaches the patrol car and positions Ember against it, using the vehicle for leverage. With one hand maintaining control of Ember's arms, she reaches for her handcuffs with the other. The moment Ember hears the metallic click of the cuffs being unclipped from the belt, she loses whatever small amount of control she had left. "No, no, please." She tries to pull away one more time, throwing her whole body weight to the side. It doesn't work. It was never going to work. The first cuff goes on. The cold metal closes around Ember's right wrist with a click that sounds like a door slamming shut on her entire future. She feels it. The weight, the tight grip, the absolute finality of it, and something inside her breaks completely. "No," she screams, and she throws herself backward with every ounce of strength she has left, trying to rip her hand free before the second cuff can go on. It's the worst possible move she could make. The officer, still maintaining professional control, has to adjust quickly to prevent Ember from hurting herself or anyone else. As Ember lurches backward, the officer guides her movement, using controlled force to bring her down safely, rather than letting her crash uncontrolled into the car or the pavement. And suddenly, Ember is on the ground. Not slammed, not thrown, just placed there with enough force to stop her from hurting herself. She's on her knees on the parking lot asphalt, one hand cuffed, the other still fighting, and the officer is right there with her, maintaining control. "Stop resisting," the officer commands, louder now, because Ember is still thrashing. "Give me your other hand. Get off me." Ember screams into the pavement, her voice raw and breaking. She tries to pull her free hand under her body, tries to hide it like a child playing keep away. The officer doesn't play keep away. She's trained for this exact scenario. With controlled precision, she secures Ember's free arm and brings it behind her back. The second cuff clicks into place. Both hands are restrained now. The fight should be over. But Ember keeps fighting anyway. She's writhing on the ground, screaming incoherently, tears and snot running down her face. Her legs are still free and she's using them, kicking at the air, at the ground, at nothing. The tough girl from 5 minutes ago, the one who was pointing fingers and yelling about her rights, is completely gone. What's left is a drunk, terrified teenager having a full meltdown in a restaurant parking lot. "I can't breathe," she sobs, even though she's clearly breathing enough to scream. "You're killing me. Someone help." The officer remains calm. She's heard this before too. She checks the cuffs. They're secure but not too tight. She can fit a finger between the metal and Ember's wrist. Proper procedure. Then she tries to help Ember sit up. Ember refuses. She goes completely limp, her body dead weight against the pavement, still sobbing and screaming about being killed even though the officer hasn't hurt her at all. "Ma'am, I need you to calm down," the officer says, her patience somehow still intact. "You're not helping yourself." "I want my mom," Ember wails, and it's such a stark contrast to the aggressive person from minutes ago that it would be almost funny if it wasn't so pathetic. "I want to call my mom." "You can call someone from jail," the officer responds. "Right now, I need you to stop kicking and walk to the car." But walking requires cooperation, and Ember has none to give. She's still kicking, still crying, still going limp every time the officer tries to help her up. It's the toddler tantrum approach to being arrested, and it's just as effective as it sounds. Which is to say, not at all. The officer makes a decision. If Ember won't walk, she'll be carried. She radios for backup, not because she needs help controlling the situation, but because policy requires it for transport when a suspect is actively resisting. "I hate you," Ember screams at the pavement, at the officer, at the universe. "This is abuse. I'm gonna sue you. My dad's a lawyer." Her dad is not a lawyer. But even if he was, it wouldn't matter. Because Ember was trespassed, warned multiple times, made physical contact with an officer, and resisted arrest. Every single one of those things is on camera. Every word she screamed is recorded. Every choice she made is documented. The pavement doesn't care about her threats. The handcuffs don't care about her tears, and the officer standing over her, still calm and professional despite everything, definitely doesn't care about her, suddenly remembering she wants her mom. 20 minutes later, Ember is sitting in the back of the patrol car, and the world has gotten very, very quiet. The screaming is over. The fighting is over. The tough girl act is buried somewhere back on that parking lot pavement along with her dignity. The handcuffs are still on. Her wrists hurt. Her knees are scraped from the ground. Her face is swollen and blotchy from crying. Her copper hair is a tangled mess hanging around her shoulders. And she's staring at the metal cage, separating her from the front seat, trying to understand how she got here. 30 minutes ago, she was in a bathroom feeling invincible. 20 minutes ago, she was screaming in a cop's face, convinced she was untouchable. Now, she's in the back of a police car with a criminal record forming in real time, and the weight of it is crushing. The officer sits in the front seat, filling out paperwork, her voice calm as she speaks into her radio. 1 in custody, juvenile female. Charges include criminal trespassing, disorderly conduct, assault on a peace officer, and resisting arrest. Requesting juvenile transport. Each word is a hammer blow. Criminal trespassing, assault on a peace officer, resisting arrest. Ember's stomach turns. She feels sick, but she doesn't know if it's the alcohol or the fear or both. Her hands are shaking. She wants to throw up. She wants to disappear. She wants to rewind time and make different choices. But time doesn't rewind. The officer keeps writing. The radio keeps crackling, and reality keeps settling in like concrete. "I want to call my parents," Ember says quietly, her voice small and broken, nothing like the screaming from before. The officer glances back through the cage. "You'll get a phone call at the station." "When do I get out?" The question comes out like a whimper. "That's up to the judge and your parents. You're a minor, so there's a process." A process. Court. The judge. Her parents finding out. School finding out. This following her forever. Ember feels the tears starting again, but they're different now. Not angry tears, not fighting tears, just the slow, horrible realization that she destroyed her own life in less than 5 minutes. "I'm sorry," she whispers, but it sounds empty even to her own ears. The officer doesn't respond to that. What is there to say? Sorry doesn't uncross the line. Sorry doesn't undo the assault charge. Sorry doesn't erase the body cam footage of Ember screaming and fighting and refusing every single chance she was given to walk away. Ember leans her head back against the seat and closes her eyes. The alcohol is starting to wear off, just enough for reality to seep in through the cracks. She sees it all now. Every moment she could have stopped. Every warning she ignored. Every choice that led here. She could have left the bathroom earlier. She could have walked out of the restaurant when asked. She could have kept walking when she got to the parking lot. She could have stepped back instead of stepping forward. She could have kept her hands to herself. She could have stopped fighting. Could have. Should have. Didn't. The tough act was supposed to make her look strong. Instead, it made her look exactly like what she is, a drunk teenager who thought volume and attitude could beat the law. She thought the officer's patience was weakness. She thought refusing to back down made her brave. She was wrong about everything. Another patrol car pulls up. Juvenile transport. Ember will be moved from this car to that one, from this officer to another, from this parking lot to the police station to juvenile detention. The process is already in motion. There's no stopping it now. The officer opens the back door. "Come on, let's go." Ember doesn't fight this time. She doesn't scream. She doesn't go limp. She just slides out of the seat, her cuffed hands behind her back, her head down, and lets herself be guided to the other car. As she's being moved, she catches a glimpse of the restaurant. Families are still inside, eating lunch, going about their day. The bathroom is probably available now. Someone else is sitting at the booth she could have been at if she just ordered food and behaved like a normal person. Life is continuing for everyone else. But, for Ember, everything has stopped. She climbs into the back of the juvenile transport car, and the door closes with a heavy thunk. Through the window, she can see the officer talking to the juvenile transport officer, handing over paperwork, explaining the situation. Ember sits alone in the silence, staring at nothing, and finally understands what everyone else already knew. Acting tough doesn't make you untouchable. It doesn't make you powerful. It doesn't make you brave. It just makes you arrested.